Good afternoon and hello to everyone. My name is Berta and I'm coordinating the alumni program at eBay. And we are here today to start a new alumni cafe, the first one of this year. And as an innovative thing is that we are doing and we are offering a conversation between two alumni, eBay alumni, and we have also an alumna who will moderate the session. I would like to thank you for being here and for joining us. This session is being recorded, but is only being recorded the part of the presentations. And then once the lecturers will stop their presentations, we can start a debate or asking questions, which Zan will moderate. And so it will not be recorded. So we encourage you to use your camera if you want. So just to go and move on, I give the floor to Zan. She will be moderating the session, as I told you, and thank you very much for being here.
Hi, everyone. Thank you very much for being here. I am Zhan. I am the co-lead of the eBay China chapter. And today we are very happy to have you all here to start our first ever alumni cafe in collaboration with our chapter, China chapter. And today we're going to talk about working in international organizations. And very happy to have our two speakers, Robin and Luoyi. And before getting to the webinar, I want to make my apologies for the previous messages in a foreign language because our speaker have the technical issues, and so I wrongly sent to everyone. It should be the direct message. Sorry for that. And another thing is that we encourage you to switch on your camera for a better interaction between the speakers and the whole audience, just to make sure you are all getting engaged and you also find our conversation today more engaging. So first of all, I would invite Robin to share his experiences in working in the international organizations. Robin is currently based in Zambia, working in the World Food Program, and previously he has worked in multiple international organizations across Europe and Latin America, Colombia, and also the Africa, which is the place that he's currently based in. And we're excited to hear your experiences. So Robin, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Tansan, and thank you so much for eBay for allowing me to share my experience with you. Let me try to share my screen. Okay. Please confirm you can see my screen. Perfect, great. So without any further delay, well, my name is Robin Brunet. I am French-Swedish, and I was a student at eBay in 2012 and 2013 when I graduated. So that was more or less 9 years ago already. So if I take a deep dive into my experience after my high school graduation up to now, so I graduated from with a bachelor's in biology from the University of Montreal. And after this bachelor's in biology, I felt like I didn't want to continue within the sector of biology. So I started a new bachelor's in economics and politics. And after 1 year, I applied directly to a master's in international relations at different universities and was accepted at eBay afterwards. And as I said, I graduated in 2013. So after my master's in international relations, I was applying to different positions in different international organizations. One of them was UNIDO, United Nations Industrial Development Organization. It's not a very famous UN agency, but it's based in Vienna, and it has a focus on industrial development and environmental environment compliance with industrial development. So anyway, I got this internship at the monitoring and evaluation group, where I stayed for 6 months, and this was an unpaid internship. And after completing my internship, I wasn't sure whether I wanted to continue within UNIDO or what I wanted to do next. So I decided to extend my internship, doing a second one, which was financed by the Swedish government. So I was lucky to have a grant from the Swedish government. And I did a 3-month internship at the regional Bureau of Latin America and the Caribbean.
Podeu tancar la porta, sisplau? Gràcies.
Okay, I think someone has not his microphone mute. I think that maybe now it's taken care of. So after this second internship at UNIDO, I was looking for paid experiences within international organizations again, and I found one with the IAEA, which is the International Atomic Energy Agency, which was also based in Austria. And I was lucky that it was paid and that it was related to my field. I did research and development in nuclear applications with pests and mosquitoes. So this was an internship that, or the 2 last internships, the second UNIDO one and the paid internship at the IAEA, I found them not through the official website or the official channels, but through networking. So I networked a lot during my first internship, and I was lucky to find people, or better said, chiefs that were looking for interns. So that was not, I did not apply officially. It was there were internships that were found, let's say, in the more informal way. And while I was doing my internship at the IAEA, I was offered a paid position as a consultant at UNIDO. And so I quit my internship at the IAEA, and I was a consultant in the environment branch of UNIDO for 1.5 years. So this first part of my career was a good alliance, a good mix between my bachelor's in biology and more broadly within environment, and my master's in international relations. So having quite a let's say a logical career after my studies. But after 1.5 years at UNIDO, I felt that I needed some perspective within of my career, and I wasn't sure I wanted to continue within environmental affairs. So I decided to take a break. I took 1.5 years. It was originally planned to be a year, but it was extended by 6 months. So for this break was meant to make me take perspective over my career, and also to do some volunteer work and see whether I wanted maybe to direct myself more towards social affairs. So what I did is I did 1 year travel where I had a lot of boxes to check on my to-do list before I turned 30. So that was my opportunity to do so. And then I did a volunteer work in Colombia and Nicaragua with street kids. And that was a really interesting experience, which really made me realize that I wanted to continue within social affairs instead of environmental affairs. However, while I was doing my volunteer work in Nicaragua, I was offered a traineeship opportunity at the European Environment Agency within the European Commission. And I decided to just take that chance, whether it was to see whether I was sure of my choice. And after 5 months of traineeship, at the end of my traineeship, I got the confirmation that I wanted to continue within social affairs and not environmental affairs. So while I was searching for opportunities, I was accepted at the European Union aid program, aid volunteers program, so the EUAV, which is not represented on the screen that I'm sharing you. But I was invited for the training that was held in Austria, and I was preparing to be deployed with the Action Against Hunger NGO in a country that I didn't know of, until I got an offer at UNESCO with the contract type of a service contract. And I decided not to go not to be deployed with Action Against Hunger, because at UNESCO the conditions were better and were more stable. So, however, I was really looking for a deep field experience, and that made me accept, while I was working at UNESCO, another offer that I received with the United Nations Verification Mission in Colombia as a UNV. And I thought that that was the opportunity to gain field experience and to still be working at the UN. So after my time at UNESCO, I moved to Colombia, and I was basically being a verification officer of the peace agreement that was signed between the ex-FARC guerrilla and the Colombian government. After 1 year and a half at the UNVNC, I was turning 31-year-old, and as the JPO program organized by my country, Sweden, only accepted JPOs until 32, I thought I would apply, and just in case I would be accepted. And I got the position in Zambia, where I am now as a JPO, and I am currently planning and coordinating the food and cash distribution to Congolese refugees in Zambia. So basically, this is my journey. I have been now for 1 year and 3 months in Zambia, and my contract is of 3 years. So I think that was basically an overview of my short career in international affairs since my graduation. I want to show you now, or to share with you, some of my lessons learned. First of all, I want to say that it took me a while to understand that I was more a generalist than a specialist. Why am I saying that? Because I was currently looking for a sector in which I would be comfortable and in which I would make a career. But this was wrong. I was never meant to be a specialist on a particular sector or on a particular topic. My aim was to be a generalist. So basically working on different topics in different sectors and in different countries with different agendas or objectives. While I'm saying that is I am applying, or I now know that I have to apply for positions such as project manager, program analyst, and so on. Positions that are cross-cutting more than specialized in a particular topic. I want to tell you that you should not be afraid of taking gap years, but I recommend you to take them cleverly. So while you are traveling, why not volunteering in a sector that you want to get insight from, or that you want to build some experiences on for your future job applications. While you're traveling, you can also learn a language. There are a lot of unpaid internships, unfortunately, at the UN. I hope this will change in the future. But there are also paid internships. And while I was a paid intern at the IAEA, and there are, I was looking on the internet and I'm sharing one link of different agencies that do pay their interns. I want to say as well that the UN is very diverse. From my experience, it's very different. I had a very different experience between from one agency to another, from one department or unit to another, from one country to another, but also between HQ and the field. So if you have a UN experience at some point in your career, and if you are disappointed of it, I recommend you not to necessarily trust your first impression, as you might have a great experience in another country or another department of the UN. I also already mentioned the language, but I want to emphasize it again, that languages are very important if you want to make a career at international organizations. I know that most of you know at least 2 languages, but if you want, for example, to work in Latin America, you should you should probably learn Spanish or Portuguese. If you want to work in Africa, French and English and Portuguese are also very, very important. If you want to work in the Middle East, Arabic is important for you to learn. If you want to work in East Europe or Central Asia, it's Russian. And Chinese is also getting more important all over the world and can be a plus on your CV or on your applications. As the last lesson learned I want to share with you is that it's not easy to get a UN experience right after your studies, even though I encourage you to apply a lot. It is also not necessary to start with a UN experience right after you graduate. Why am I saying that? Because the experience that you gain outside of the UN will be an added value for your UN applications, UN job applications. So don't worry if you want to reach, or if you want to have at some point some experience at the UN or make a career in the UN, you don't need to start with it straight away. As a follow-up to my lessons learned, I want to share with you a few of the platforms that can help you gain experience at the UN. The first of all I want to present for you is the United Nations Volunteers. I was a UN volunteer in Colombia before I came to Zambia, and this United Nations volunteer was an amazing experience for me. I was having a lot of responsibilities, and I grew a lot within the organization and personally. There are plenty of United Nations volunteers posts on the platform, and you can apply to as many as you want. Then there is, when I want to present you also the UN main portals, which are the UN Careers and Inspira, but I want to tell you that those are very difficult or very competitive platforms. And I don't want to get your hopes low, but it's difficult to get a position, especially if you just graduated from university. What I would recommend on the other side is you to apply to positions that are posted on the different agencies' websites, mostly UN specialized agencies such as UNESCO, IOM, and so on. Then there is the Junior Professional Officer Program, the JPO, which I am currently at now. It is also a very competitive process, but it is also a bit unfair because it's mainly financed by rich countries or developed countries for their own citizens. There is another program, though, that is more fair or more better for the UN, in my opinion, which is the Young Professional Program, YPP. This is a program that targets individuals or youth, or let's say young professionals that are from underrepresented countries in the UN. And this is also a program that has more or less the same benefits as the JPO program. Then for international, if you want to apply to international organizations and NGOs, I recommend you the following platforms: Relief Web, which is organized or coordinated by OCHA, Impact Pool, and DevEx. DevEx is you need to pay for many of the posts of the job ads, but it might be something that you can consider for at least 1 or 3 months while you are actively searching for an employment. I don't have the time to get into this slide, unfortunately, but I still made some provided some links that you can have a look at if you're interested in doing an internship or finding a job at the European Union, if you're interested in volunteering, and if you're interested in other posts such as the Peace Brigades International, who are doing peace monitoring around the world. A few additions, and as I am wrapping up, because I think I'm already over time, I want to say that it's important, in my opinion, to update your LinkedIn profile and to have a presence on the web. I think that increases your visibility and your the way you show professionalism and how you promote yourself to the others. One possibility as well to gain experience within political science could be to volunteer for elections organization, either in your country or at your embassy. I have came across a lot of recruiting at the OSCE, the OAS, BIT, African Union, ASEAN, and GIZ. If you are a citizen of a regional organization, these are experiences that are extremely rich and as rich as at the UN. And I unfortunately have no time to go through the different kind of UN contracts, but there are plenty, and I am happy to go through them with you if you write to me or if you want to talk to me personally. So thank you very much for your attention, and I'm very happy and looking forward for the debate or for your questions.
Thank you, Robin, for such a informative sharing, and really have given us a lot of practical information. And in case anyone wants those links, or you can reach out to Robin directly, or maybe just type if you want to. If you want us to share the slides with you guys, then we can, I think Robin is, I don't know if it's okay for you, we can share your slides so the audience can directly access to those links. And if you want, maybe you can type in the chat box and leave a comment. And now we are going to move on to our next speaker, Luoyi. Luoyi is currently based in Beijing, China, and she is the communication specialist in WHO since the pandemic started. Previously, Luoyi also has very international and multiple experiences studying across different continents, America, Europe, and Asia, of course, and worked in different international organizations as well. So Luoyi, the floor is yours. You're free to share your slides with us.
Hello, everyone. Hello from Beijing, China. And thank you so much, Jen and Berta and Robin for your presentation. So I'm going to talk about my journey to the United Nations as the presentation entails. Okay. So the contents I'm going to cover during my presentations are, firstly, I'm going to introduce very briefly myself and my professional journey. And also I'm going to talk about the challenges that I have encountered through the journey and the lessons that I learned. So first of all, who am I? As you already know, my name is Luoyi Zhou. I am from China. I am a communication specialist at WHO China office. So the first label that I would give myself is that I am international affairs professional, like all of you, I think. So I do see that the international affairs is the industry that I want to grow professionally, at least for the next 5 to 10 years. And second, I am a communication practitioner. It's what I do on a daily basis. It's also my skill set and my expertise. And third, I am an activist. I do volunteer a lot in local NGOs and charities in my free time. And my professional journey, so I developed, I think like many of you, I developed a strong interest towards international affairs and the world in general when I was a kid. And I used to dream of becoming a diplomat when I was younger. So I chose to study Spanish and international studies for my undergrad in China. It's actually a pretty common path in China leading to diplomacy. It's what we call like non-English foreign languages. And I was lucky enough to study abroad in Barcelona for a year at the University of Barcelona. That's how my connection with Barcelona began. And then upon graduation, I got my first full-time job as a communication assistant at the Embassy of Spain to China in Beijing, China as well. And I worked there for 2 years. It was a nice experience, but also during the time, I came to realize that diplomacy was not something really spoke to me. I do have my passion for international relations and foreign policies, but I do see myself more like working for international organizations or NGOs, like working for real impact, working for vulnerable groups and marginalized communities instead of for something like national interest. So that's when I was thinking maybe I should do a master's in international relations in order to kind of switch to the international organization side. And then I started my journey at eBay, so majoring in international relations. So I started my, my studies in 2016. And during the time, I did an internship at UNUGCM, standing for the United Nations University Institute on Globalization, Culture, and Mobility. So it was actually my very first UN experience, actually, but it didn't really feel like UN at all, but because it was more like a research institute and a think tank, but actually it was part of the UN system. And also I applied for the exchange semester in the University of Montreal in Montreal, Canada. Before starting my exchange semester, I also spent a summer studying human rights in Oslo, Norway. So I graduated in 2018, actually because of my exchange program. So upon graduation, I started a 6-month paid internship at IOM, Asia Pacific Regional Office. So I got the internships through actually regular channel. I applied through the website, but I think I got the internship because I already had experience with migration at UNUGCM, which really helped. And it was a paid internship, but actually this subsidy was very low. I was getting like $200 to $300 per month. And after that, I came back to China, starting my current role as a communication specialist for this COVID-19 response here in China. And also during the time, I finished my second postgraduate degree in human rights at a program co-founded by Peking University and Yangtze University here in China as well. And here are the challenges that I have encountered. But to be honest, these are the challenges that I am still facing kind of constantly right now. So first of all, I want to talk about the hard entry. So somehow, in order to land a job in the United Nations, probably you have to go through the internship period. And the internships at the UN are usually unpaid or very poorly paid. So of course, not everyone have the means to do it. And second, even though you see plenty of vacancies out there advertised online every day, but actually very few of them are real vacancies where the hiring managers do not have anyone specific in mind already. And even for one single vacancy, you could expect loads of qualified or even overqualified applications, which makes it very competitive and very hard for external candidates. The second is the instability. I think is one of the major downsides of working for the UN, especially when you're a junior. It's very hard for you to get a permanent or even long-term contract. So a very short-term contracts are very common. For example, a contract of 3 months or even 5 months are really common. And secondly, especially for those agencies that are more project-based, the fundings can be very unstable and your contract would fully depend on the availability of funding. And the second is the rotation. So after reaching a certain level, I think it's P3 or P4 maybe, you have to rotate, which means that you have to switch your country after a few years. Maybe for some people it's interesting, it's like an adventure, but not everyone is up to living this experience, especially when you have more priorities, other priorities in life, like family or children, for example. And the third one is uncertainty. So by this, I mean the future of the UN itself. Sometimes I ask myself, will the UN still exist even in the next 20 or 30 years? Or which direction will it go? Maybe I'm a bit exaggerating here, but you do see a tendency of the offices cutting its staff, budgeting, and shrinking. And the second one is the geopolitical tension. I'm not gonna dive into it because we're all IR students. But for example, I'm sure you remember last year when the in 2020, when Trump administration announced that the US would withdraw the fundings to WHO. I'm glad it didn't happen, but it would have had a huge impact on us as employees. And next one is bureaucracy. So especially if you worked in private sector before, you would have a big adjustment in the UN because everything is pretty slow and it can be very low and efficient at some point. And you may have to go to very complex procedures even for small things. And some of the procedures do not make sense at all. And the last one is what I call expectation versus reality. So the UN is not perfect. So as any other organizations or companies in the world, but we tend to have a very idealistic view towards the UN. And we enter the UN actually with the intention of creating social impact or even changing the world. So I think that's how we have very low tolerance towards what's happening inside the UN. So frustration may be very common sometimes when you see the dark side, and you will be very frustrated even in the cause itself. And also compassion fatigue for people who are working in the humanitarian sector, people who have to deal with individuals every day. And finally, the lessons learned. So first of all, I think it's very important to understand your real motivations. Idealism is not enough. Why do I say it? Because sometimes I feel like people say they want to work for the United Nations, but they do not really know what the United Nations works, how the United Nations works. They want to work for the UN because they have those very big ideas in mind. But I think it's very important to really understand how the UN works, and maybe just to understand its concrete projects to make an informed decision. And the second one is to open to different career paths, even if the UN is your ultimate goal. Because as I said before, sometimes, entering the UN can be difficult, especially once you're just graduate. So it's good I think it's good for you to gain different experience in different sectors, in different areas before going to the UN. And we very value people with diverse experience, people with cross-sectoral experience as well. The third one is to identify your expertise beyond international relations. So I remember Robin was talking about being a generalist or being a specialist. But for me, I think it's also important to know from which angle can you contribute. For example, because the work in the United Nations can be mundane and specific. So maybe it's good before you apply, understand in which concrete area do you want to work for, either it be research or project management or communications or evaluation or whatever. And next one is the UN system is complex. You may not have the same kind of experience as others because the UN system is very huge, and also it really depends on agencies, on the host country, on whether you're in headquarters or the field. Next one is networking is vital, but only genuine networking counts. What do I mean by this? Because every time when you talk with someone who have any sort of UN experience, they will tell you networking is vital. But the thing is that I think everyone in the system knows it, and sometimes it's too obvious. And I think people knows. And some people, it may work sometimes, but also I feel like some people are exhausted. So before you network, I think it's good to network from the angle that you truly want to learn something, you truly want to get advice from senior people, not just to network for the purpose of networking. So I think that's it. Here is my contact details. So if you have any questions regarding my presentation, you're very welcome to drop me a message. And thanks.
Thank you, Luoyi, for. I would say today's sharing is such a combination, a very nice combination, because Robin has gave us an angle more like from the field, and he also has gave us lots of practical information, advice, tips for the application. And Luoyi, she has more experiences working in different country offices, and also gave us different aspects such as the challenges of the real experiences working in United Nations and the other relevant agencies. So now we are entering into the Q&A section, and again, thank you for sharing these experiences.